All right, so this is the beginning. So hello, museum families, and welcome to RBCM at Home Kids, a play date through screens across British Columbia and the world. The previous sessions are recorded and you can find them on our Royal BC Museum YouTube page. So my name is Chris O'Connor, and I'm a learning program developer at the Royal BC Museum. The museum and my home is on the territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people, the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, here in Victoria on Vancouver Island. I'm an uninvited guest on this territory and grateful to live, learn, and raise a family on this land. So Halloween is almost here. It's one of my favorite holidays of the year. It might be a little different this year, a little stranger just because we're in these strange times, but it's still here. It's a time of goblins and ghosts and monsters. And today we'll be making monsters. And you might think monsters, oh, that's scary. You can think of scary monsters, but there's also lots of friendly monsters too. So you can easily think of friendly monsters too. So today we'll be making monsters with one of our exhibit artists here at the museum. But before that, I wanted to go back to what we did last week, as we usually do. And Kim, let me know if this is working.
I see your presenter view. Yep, I see it. A little bit cut off, but I see most of it.
So RBCM at Home. Last week, we made noise with Jeff and Anna from the Pacific Opera Victoria. So we learned how to warm up our bodies and warm up our voices. If you're opera singers or if you're just love using your voice and your bodies. So that was last week with the Pacific Opera Victoria. We didn't make art last week, but we're gonna definitely make art today. And I'd love to see what monsters you make, whether it's today or in the coming days. So you could send a picture of what you make to me at connor@royalbcmuseum.bc.ca. We'll put that in the chat and the comment section as well. Or you could share it through our social channels at Royal BC Museum or hashtag RBCM Kids. Continue exploring with us after. We have a learning portal with lots of really interesting things. We even have one that maybe is like with scary, possibly scary animals, mammals and insects that might be scary, but maybe not so scary. And then next week, next Wednesday, we have a new exhibition of Emily Carr's artwork. So we're gonna be doing Emily Carr inspired art postcards with Jerry Engen. So that's next week. But today, I'm gonna stop that sharing. But today, just as a reminder, in this format, you could see me, I'm your host, and our special guest. Today we have Megan. Though we can't see you, we can hear from you if you use the Q&A box or the comments section if you're watching on Facebook Live. So please ask questions as we go along. And we'll be doing some making today. So basically all the supplies in your craft box are fair game. But at least some paper and something to draw with is great. And even if you don't have that right now, not a problem. You can watch and go back later when the video is up on our YouTube page. Just do what you can with what you have for now. So let's meet our special guests. Today we are joined by Megan Anderson. Megan is an exhibit arts technician here at the Royal BC Museum, which means she is a museum artist, making a lot of the things that you might see in the galleries when you come to visit. And today, Megan is deep within the museum in a special room just for Halloween and other odd decorations. So without further ado, hello, Megan.
Hi, Chris. Hi, everybody. Happy almost Halloween. I thought it would be fun to present from our Halloween headquarters at the museum. We have a pretty big inventory of Halloween decorations and supplies over the past, I don't know, 5 or so years. We've been decorating for a big party and night shift event. And we also put decorations usually in a normal year in Old Town. And behind me here, you can see some of the things we have. And I'll just point out Ogopogo. This is from an exhibit about 10 years ago. So we have wonderful inventory here. We try not to throw out important things like this, and you'll find them popping up from time to time.
And for those that might not know, Ogopogo is the mythical creature from the Okanagan, right?
Yes, thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and so, yeah, I thought it would be fun to do something a little Halloween monster, mythical creature inspired. And like Chris said, if you basically whatever you have today, we can work with. We're going to start with doing some 2D, some paper stuff, which will be pretty fun. If you have a stuffy that you're inspired by that you'd like to turn into a monster, but you're not quite ready to commit to doing a permanent change, you can do that on paper quite successfully. So we'll go through that, a little bit of collage techniques, but maybe first I'll show you some of the stuff I've been doing in the past few days. I just thought this would be kind of a fun thing to do. And so I got a bunch of little creatures, stuffies, dolls, stuff like that. I'm going to show you a before and after these because I happen to have two. So this is, these were just little twins I got from Value Village. And this is what it looked like before its monster modification. So I just did this with like, you know, button eye with a bit of stitching, a little bit of marker, does a really nice bleed into the fur, some stitch marks, some hot glue, horns and fangs. I'm planning to show you how to do that because that can be a pretty fun way to modify things, and that doesn't have to be permanent. You can often just pick them right off afterwards.
So kids might not want to use a stuffy that they have or a doll that they have already, but it's a good idea that you could go out to a thrift store and get one for really cheap and then modify that one. And maybe they're a little less attached to.
Yep. Find it in a free box, whatever. Yeah.
Right.
So this is more of a doll type one that's a little bit Nightmare Before Christmas inspired, if you know that movie. So I spray painted this one. I don't know how it's showing up on your monitor, but it's this really cool sort of light gooey green. And just because it can take a long time, if you're painting something like plastic, you need to put down a really thin layer and let it dry and then put on another layer. So I did a few ahead of time just because, you know, we're going to run short of time for all the things we want to do. But that's kind of a fun, spooky doll. Oh, yes. So this is a Cabbage Patch doll that I haven't quite finished the eye, but I'm turning it into kind of a punk cyclops just for fun. And again, that's spray paint and a little bit of faux fur hair. And so this clothing is just some fabric scraps that I basically just cut and folded. There's no stitching and just a little bit of gluing. So it's pretty easy to whip something up like that, even if you don't have a needle and thread or aren't too interested.
Did it have hair and you took the hair off and then added the mohawk?
No, this one was bald. I guess it was the baby. Yeah. Oh yeah, you can see the teeth there. So they're just kind of snaggly fun glue teeth. So I'm hoping I will have a chance to show you how to do that. Okay, so let's get started. So just make sure you have your supplies, whatever that looks like for you. I've got paper, cardstock, some markers, scissors, glue. The main ones are kind of something to write on, something to write with, to cut with, and to stick stuff together if you've got that. Okay, so even if you're planning to modify a stuffy, it's not a bad idea to draw it out first because that helps you plan what you're going to do first, what changes you might want to make. If you're going to do something right out of your imagination, that's fine too. And I'll just show you some cute monsters I pulled for inspiration. Basically, you know, the sky's the limit with monsters. You can make them any way you want. These ones are kind of cute. They've got those big googly type eyes. They all have lots of teeth and lots of options for really playing with the color and texture and kind of surface pattern of them. So there's a few possibilities for you. So I am going to get started. I have a little stuffy, I have a little rabbit over here. And I'm gonna just use this as my inspiration. So everyone can just go ahead and start to draw your monster or your creature. We're just starting with the basic outline. So like I said, mine's gonna start off looking pretty rabbity.
So whether that's you're drawing from a stuffy or a doll or just from your imagination?
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. Yeah.
And fair game, like it could be one eye or two eyes or three eyes. I noticed that some of your examples had eyes outside of the body, definitely a lot of teeth.
Yes.
So just whatever you do out there is great. Just sort of thinking about what do you want to say through your monster?
Yeah.
Is it a cute monster? Is it a scary monster?
And as I'm copying mine, it's looking pretty cute. Like this is it's pretty fast, but to me it says I'm a cute little rabbit. So that's what I've got so far. And what I'm going to do now is take a Sharpie and I'm going to go around the outline. Now I'm working pretty fast. I'm going to add some kind of spiky hair.
So Megan, you started with pencil, and now that you feel good about your general design, then you're adding marker just to...
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I've drawn in the eyes and the nose, even though I'm going to go over them. I think I'm going to change them a bit. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. So I have some buttons. I don't know if anyone out there has buttons, but they're great. And I've got this little pink one I think I'm going to use. I've got a needle threaded here. This is a really big fat needle with some really thick cord. And that makes it really easy to pull through and it makes it show up. So you could even sew this directly onto the paper. You don't have to, you can glue it, but I think I might do that. I wasn't sure if I'd have time, but I think that's gonna work out. What I'm using is kind of a cardstock, so it's a bit of a thicker paper. It has some texture to it. And you could actually sew right into paper and it gives some really neat effects.
You usually think about sewing into fabric, but it's interesting to be trying to sew right into paper.
Sure. I mean, yeah, the fun stuff with sort of mixed media is that you can layer so many different techniques and it just adds some visual interest. It makes it really fun.
So what started out as 2-dimensional is now a little bit 3-dimensional.
Yeah.
Megan, can you show that and the original rabbit together?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So you can see this is really just a starting point, right? We've just got the general feel. I'm going to do an X for an eye on the other side. And you notice I added some fangs to make this rabbit a little bit vampire-y.
Chloe writes in saying that I'm doing a cute little rock or little rocks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So yeah, like maybe something that's not alive that comes alive as a monster, whether that's a rock or
I think that's a great idea. Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly cut this out. You may cut yours out too, or maybe not. I was kind of thinking ahead that it could be really fun to make a bunch of these of all different sizes. And then, you could make some kind of background or environment for them out of paper. You could even make a diorama. It would be really neat to imagine what kind of environment all these sort of critters would live in.
Speaking of which, I didn't mention that, but Megan was here during one of our first episodes of RBCM at Home Kids to teach us how to make dioramas. So you can combine that session with this session for monster dioramas.
Yeah, it would be really very fun and creative. I mean, really, you can do whatever you want.
I noticed that Spencer also says that he has colored glue, which I would imagine that would be something fun to play with as well with this.
Yeah, I think colored glue is great. You can also use your colored glue to make patterns and designs on the body. So, you could outline scales and just use it as color, or sort of if you were sticking something like buttons or other pieces of paper on and you had that glue that kind of gushes out and would give a really neat colored effect. I think I want to make wings. I want to show you all how to make wings and how to, what a template is and how to do a simple template. So I've got 3 different examples of wings here. So the top is bat, the middle is like a kind of dragonfly, and the bottom is dragon. And I'm just going to show you an easy way to make symmetrical wings so they're the same on both sides. So what I'm going to do is take my cardstock. So I've got this paper is a little bit heavier than a regular printer paper or drawing paper. You could certainly use drawing paper, but if you have something like construction paper, that's nice too, because it's just not as flimsy. I'm going to fold it in half like that lengthways. And I'm going to crease the fold so I have a nice line that I can see really clearly. I think I'm going to make my rabbit bat wings because it's kind of vampire-y. So I'm going to take my Sharpie. You could use a pencil if you're not sure about if you want to just get it just right.
Again, start with a pencil and then add the Sharpie after.
Yeah. So I'll show you how I've just done that on the side. I've got this kind of extra bit because that's going to give me a nice tab that I can stick to the back. Not such a big deal on paper, but if I'm going to show you how to make templates for like a 3D creature. So, if you're sticking it to a stuffie or a figure, you just have a little bit more to work with. So you see how when I unfold that, I've got the other side that kind of sits behind the side that you've drawn. What I'm going to do now is cut this out, and I'm going to cut through both layers. Put them on the outside. And of course, you can experiment and make any type of wing you want, like more of a butterfly wing or, whatever. The sort of technique is the same for getting them equal on both sides. So I've got that cut out, and now I'm going to open it up.
I would imagine if you were doing antenna, it might be the same kind of idea, or could.
Absolutely, yeah. Antenna can be tricky because they're so narrow.
Yeah.
Right? So again, working with a heavier paper is good. It's a little bit easier. So now I've got my paper wings, and I could paint these or color them or do collage them, do whatever I want. I think I'm going to use them as a template, and I'm going to cut a pair of wings out of this heavier felt that I have. So this is just like a polyester felt. You can see it's kind of structured.
So I'm sorry, Megan, what kind of material is that?
It's felt, so it's like a stiff felt. So it's not, it's not the stuff that's very drapey, it's a bit stiffer. So it would be tricky to fold this in half and do what I just showed you with this kind of material because it just creases kind of weirdly. And another thing, if you're when you make a template like this and then use it to cut out of something else, you can spend the time to get your wings just right, just the way you want them. And you also will have this that you can use over and over if you want to make a bunch of wings. So that's a good reason for making a template. So I'm just laying it down on my felt. And I think I'm just going to trace it. I'm going to trace it with a pen so that I can see the outline. You could pin it or even stick it on with a little dab of glue stick if you wanted to. But tracing works pretty well. And of course, you could use this to cut wings out of just about anything you can cut through. Okay. Now I'm going to cut out my wings.
So by using the felt, it gives, well, one, a little bit more color, but then also it gives a little bit more texture to your rabbit, monster rabbit.
Yeah, exactly. So far I've got that button sewn on. I'm just about to glue on these wings. So I've got my glue gun heated up. If you have a glue gun, it'd be a good time to plug it in if you haven't already. Yeah, let's stick it on high. It's not heating up. So I have a backup.
I imagine with this, there's also like you could use staples, or you can even use tape, perhaps.
Yeah, you could use whatever. You know what? I might just use a bit of needle and thread since my glue gun is failing. That's good. Any kind of fastener will work. Okay, so let me get the wings on.
And actually, Spencer makes a comment about hot glue, saying, I need a better way to dry my hot glue. So
Yeah, hot glue. If you have a glue gun that's got two settings, like a low and a high, I find it's always better to use it on low temp because that will dry a lot faster. But yeah, it is tricky. Okay, we're just having a bit of a glitchy morning here. Okay, that's starting to heat up. Maybe the low isn't working for some reason. So in the meantime, I just pin my wings on. I'll wait for that to heat up properly, just like that.
and you made a little bit of hair at the top, or you cut that out?
I just cut that out. I just put that little spiky hair on. And I have some pom-poms that I was going to glue on, kind of like polka dots. And you know, you might decide to paint yours, add extra eyes. Often monsters either have one eye or multiple eyes. So I've got these pom-poms that I'm going to glue on, but I'm going to have to wait a minute.
So London's asking about Elmer's glue. Is that possible to use that kind of glue, or is it best to use hot glue?
I think Elmer's is fine. The only thing is it takes a bit longer to dry. So, but if you do a thin layer, it's great for paper. It's actually better, to be honest. If you have a glue stick too, glue stick is great for paper or craft. Even something like felt, I think, would be fine with that. Okay, my glue gun is heated up now. So let's glue a couple of these on.
We had a question, Megan, just that you're just using paper right now, but this could be, or you'll show us. We have about 10 minutes,
Okay.
but you'll show us about how to make a monster with a stuffy or a doll. Or
You bet. We're going to move on to that very shortly.
I'm loving your monster rabbit, though.
Aw, thank you. So I'm just going to stick one more pom-pom on this. And you know, I think if I have more time, I'd really play with taking my time a bit more, and I do more coloring. I might make the fangs pop out, and I might, yeah. But you get the general idea, and how kind of fun that is. And I would love to see what you've made when you send in to Chris. I was gonna say too, you can, when you're drawing and collaging like this, you can really play with scale. So if your model or your inspiration is something really small, like I have this little cat figurine, you can make that much bigger if you're drawing on it. You can make it as big as your paper. You can get really big paper. So that, or if your inspiration is something very big, you can make it much smaller. So that can be really fun, just to play around with scale like that. Yeah. Okay, so let's move ahead. Okay, I have this little cat. So what I've sort of done is I've done things halfway just because of the time constraints we have. There's so much to show you in about 25 minutes, but the principle is kind of the same. When you're changing your stuffy, or your figure, whether it's plastic or it's some kind of fabric. This is kind of like this locking, like a kind of fuzz. So this took paint quite nicely. So this was kind of a bluish color, and I just turned it black. And I've made one fang. So I'm just gonna hold that up and show you. That is a glue fang. So that's just clear glue right now, but I can just dab a little bit of paint on it and it will really pop. You'll really be able to see it. And I've got this neat color called Titan Buff, which is kind of this yellowy white, like just a great fang color. So that'll pop a little bit more. You can really see that. So if you want to make teeth and fangs with glue, same as how I did for the Cabbage Patch Kid. Hopefully, it's like glue can be temperamental. I've had really good success doing this, and then yesterday all my tests just didn't work out the way I wanted. Now, I've had my glue on high, and what I'm going to do is unplug it so that it slowly cools down. And I'll have a few minutes to work with it where it'll be just perfect, because if it's too hot, it's really tricky to get it to do what you want. And basically, we just want to make the kind of shapes that we want to make. I want to make a little tiny pointy thing. So I'm gonna just put a tiny dab of glue. And I'm gonna pull my gun away and see how I've got that long string. I'm not gonna worry about that. I've got this really great pointy shape that is gonna be just like a fang. And so it's probably, it depends, like 30 seconds or so until you can touch the glue. The string generally won't be hot, but you don't want to touch it too soon because it'll just pull away and get stuck to you. When it kind of starts to change color a little bit, like it goes a little bit more opaque, kind of whitey, then you know it's okay to touch. And while that dries, let's do some horns on this cat. So I'm just gonna take a look at it, decide where I want to put my horn, and I'm gonna start laying down some glue. Like I did a couple little pumps there, and then I'm just lifting it up. So I'm getting this. You can see that kind of point. Yeah. And you have to be patient here. Use gravity a little bit, hold it upside down. And like, don't worry about the extra bits because you can cut those off after. I'll try blowing on it. Another neat thing you can do with glue is use it to sort of fill cavities. Like if you want to make a cyclops and you want to fill sort of the dents where the eyes are, you can do that with hot glue. You would just.
Is that what you did with the Cabbage Patch doll?
I actually just sprayed over top. I was going to do that, but I kind of ran out of time. And you know, if you have clay or plasticine, that's also a great thing to use instead of glue. It's not hot. You can use it right away. Depending on what it is, it can be tricky to get it off. So, you know, it can get kind of stuck into fur and things like that. Play-Doh too, if you have any Play-Doh cooking around, that could work pretty well. So I'm just snipping the tips off now. And I'm gonna do this actually.
It's really interesting, Megan, that we often think of just hot glue gun as just sticking things together, but you're using hot glue gun in almost like clay in a way to make something with it. So
that's right. And I mean, essentially, it's like a low melt plastic, so it's something you know, a casting material. You can use it. Yeah, I don't really have anything I can show you. That's another webinar, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can have lots of fun with hot glue. You just gotta be mindful.
Be really safe.
Yeah, because it does burn, right? And the burns are painful. So yeah. Okay, I have some horns that I'm happy with here. I see with this one, it's not shiny anymore. So when it goes kind of matte, which means it's not shiny, then you can touch it and not burn yourself. So I'm gonna snip. How are we doing for time?
Just have a few minutes.
Okay, so here goes. So what you can do is go ahead and paint whatever you add with your glue. I also pre-cut some wings, just exactly the way I showed you, but a little bit smaller, and I made these dragon wings. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna glue them right on here. So this is a time when hot glue works really well. Elmer's would be okay. It just because takes longer to dry, you might need to put a little piece of tape on to hold the wings on until they're dry, but you certainly can use it. Okay. And I think it would be fun to do something with the eyes. So I'm really quickly going to paint out the eyes with this red. I have these cool paint pens, but really whatever you have, paint will probably work the best, or a permanent marker like a Sharpie kind of thing. You can just experiment. Or you could just put paper or fabric right over the top. And again, glue will take color pretty well, so you can always dab a bit of glue on the eye and then paint that if you find that your paint is really sticking. Just as a demo here, I'm going to just paint the tip of the alphabet. So there we have a vampire cat. It's really, really different than when it looked when I picked it up.
Yeah.
So if we have time, I just really quickly want to show you how to do a hybrid. Can we do a 2-minute hybrid, do you think?
Sure.
Okay. So I got this giraffe, and I cut the head off because I just wanted to see what was going on inside. And it's just a really thin silicone rubber, really easy to cut. And I've got this, I believe this is a beanie boo, really cute. I'm gonna make something on the cuter side, more of a mythical creature, I think. So I'm gonna carefully cut this.
And I just want to say, like, don't do this with any of your siblings' toys or.
Thank you.
Or stuffy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you might recognize that as a Sophie if you have like a baby or toddler in the house. So it's good to do this for their Sophie. But you know, if you have some things that you're kind of done playing with and you want to make something new, this could be a cool way. So I'm just taking some of the stuffing out of here and I've hollowed it out a bit. So I've got a space and I can fit the head onto the neck like that. And I've got this roving, this kind of this cool airy stuff. So roving is basically wool that's been brushed, and I don't think this has been dyed, but you know, it's a really great material to do all kinds of stuff with. And I'm just gonna see, it's just gonna kind of soften it here. I'm just gonna kind of put it underneath. So this giraffe, like I said, is made out of silicone, which is a really slippery kind of material. So glue doesn't stick to it. So what I've done is I've just really seeded that on there. So it's not really going to go anywhere, but I would need to sew it, I think, if I wanted to make sure, like if I was going to play with this, not just look at it. And with a pretty heavy duty needle, maybe a grown-up, maybe a kid, depending how comfortable you are with it, you could sew through that and just tack a couple of stitches to keep that on.
Kim says it looks like a Dr. Seuss creature.
It kind of does, doesn't it? And you know what? I think it needs wings too. So again, I pre-made some wings, more of a dragony type wing. So exactly the same way as I showed you. And I used a marker to just outline, you know, kind of like a webbing on them. And so to put these on, I'm not going to be able to glue them. So I'm going to make a very careful slit in the back with my X-Acto. And I mean, I'm sure you will think of all kinds of creative ways where you don't have to use a knife. You could tie it on, for sure. Or stitch it on.
Or tape, yeah.
Yeah, tape is great. So I'll see if I can just...
I would imagine when you're making these hybrid kind of animals that it doesn't need to look pretty. Like it could have a messiness to it, and that's okay.
I think that's sort of part of it. It's part of the aesthetic. It's part of what makes it a neat kind of look. You know, things don't always have to be perfect. Part of the interest in beauty can be in the imperfection, absolutely. So let me just see if I can quickly get this stuck in here. And I'll just make that slit a little bit bigger. And what I'm finding with these is once you start, you just get so many ideas for all the things you can make, right? It's just kind of a neat starting point. If you want to breathe new life into some of the toys around your house, or just do some crafty collaging. So I'll just bend those down. I think those are going to stay pretty well, but you see, I'd have to do a bit of a better job to get that to stay on. But I really like this new creature.
Yeah, me too.
Pretty cute. And
And I imagine, yeah, you can add onto its body too. Can you show all three that you made?
sure.
You definitely see a theme of wings, which is
Yeah, I
really
was
nice to see.
into the wings.
Yeah.
Okay, so
This hybrid creature.
hybrid creature. We've got the transformed doll. So I added, you see a snake in the hair there, some of the kind of like a stitch marks on her face. I painted out the eyes and gave her a new set of eyeballs. I kept her original clothes. And we've got this one, button eye, and a little bit of blue and marker.
Made the horns there.
Oh yeah, and the horns. See if I can line everybody up. We've got the Cyclops doll, a little bit of that, and then the vampire cat. Let's see.
And then the rabbit too.
Oh, yeah, and then the rabbit. So the 2D rabbit, which was really fun. I think it would be fun to make a whole bunch of these and like make a scene and just, tape them to your wall.
Yeah, for sure.
Things like that. Yeah. There's a walk-in in my pocket. I don't know that one.
Uh-huh.
Sounds cool though. I think it's
London, for those on Facebook Live, London writes, it looks like it's from the book, There's a Walk-In in My Pocket.
Okay.
What a lovely family of monsters.
Yeah, look at that.
Not scary at all.
No, it is a monster family, isn't it? Yeah. All right, is that everyone?
And you're the creator of all that, of the family.
Yeah, what a productive morning it's been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Megan. There's so many great ideas and we'd love to see what you've made. So maybe Kim, if you could put my email in the chat and the comments section again, just whatever you come up with, please send it along to us and I'll make sure Megan sees them as well. We'd love to see the RBCM at Home Kids monster party with all of your monsters.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Megan, again for joining. And I do like that idea of making because you came on before with the diorama, so making a monster diorama. So
yeah.
I'm going to combine your two visits together.
Yeah, I'd love to see what.
For those who joined for the first time, it was so great to have you here. We're really happy to have you here. We do this every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. You're welcome to join us again. Again, next week is Emily Carr and postcards, art postcards. And we are open as a museum. We just have a certain amount of space for kids or for participants to come in. So you just have to call and let us know that you're coming in, but we definitely welcome you back to the museum. And yeah, and happy Halloween. Be safe and don't eat all your candy at once.
Let's get advice first.
Oh, Megan, because you have your kid. What is your kid going to be for Halloween?
My kid is going to be Katra, which is a character from She-Ra, sort of, yeah, I don't know, half cat, yeah.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so
Great.
that costume is coming along.
Right. Nice to have you as a mother to help make that costume. So.
Well, it's fun for me too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everyone.
Yeah, thanks. Take care. Bye.
So we just stopped the Facebook Live feed.